She was just a quiet girl who fetched coffee for the officers. Until one day, a fighter pilot glanced at the patch on her sleeve and realized she wasn't just a helper. She was the reason his last mission didn't end in flames. Every morning, Anya walked through the military base with a tray in her hands, sometimes filled with coffee, sometimes with reports, but always with her eyes quietly scanning the room. To the officers, she was just a support worker, polite and efficient, blending into the background. No one questioned her presence in the strategy room or near the comm center. They assumed she was there to tidy up or deliver refreshments. She wore a plain uniform, nothing that screamed rank or recognition. Some of the younger recruits didn't even know her name, calling her Miss or Hey. Could you grab me one too? But Anya didn't mind. In fact, she preferred being unnoticed. Because the truth was, she was watching, learning, absorbing every piece of data, every conversation, every radar beep that echoed through those rooms. She knew the systems better than some of the junior officers, not because anyone trained her, but because she had trained herself. In her spare time, she studied military manuals, practiced on outdated simulators in a forgotten corner of the base, and took quiet online courses in satellite systems and radar diagnostics. Her brother had once dreamed of flying jets before an accident took his life during training. Anya had decided then that if she couldn't fly, she would still be part of the mission, somehow. So she worked from the shadows, never complaining, never asking for more, while others saw her as a helper. She saw herself as a backup plan. Just in case the experts ever missed something, she'd be ready. She wasn't waiting for approval or applause. She was building knowledge in silence, with the kind of focus no one noticed. Yet, it was a regular morning in the war room, filled with the buzz of hurried voices and screens blinking with data. Anya quietly walked in, carrying coffee for the team during a high-pressure mission briefing. As usual, no one paid her much attention until a senior pilot, Captain Roshan, happened to glance her way. His eyes paused, not on her face, but on something stitched onto the sleeve of her uniform. A triangular patch, half hidden by her folded arm, with codes and symbols only someone trained in advanced reconnaissance would recognize. It was a patch issued only to those who passed a classified remote tracking simulation one not even most officers dared to attempt. For a second, he thought it might be a mistake, some uniform mix-up, but something in Anya's calm demeanor, the way she stood quietly at the edge of the room, not looking lost at all, made him stop. "Excuse me," he said, walking over. "Where did you get that patch?" The room fell oddly silent. Anya looked up, her voice steady. "I passed the A-12 protocol exam last fall. Remote satellite tracking. Level 3 clearance." A few officers chuckled, assuming she was joking, but Roshan didn't laugh. Instead, he signaled to his aide and asked him to verify the record. Moments later, the aide returned, visibly confused. "She's not listed in the official database, but the patch is real, and she did pass the simulation, off record." Anya remained still, as if this moment wasn't surprising. The commander asked, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Her reply was quiet. No one asked, and in that moment, for the first time, the room looked at her not as a helper, but as someone who might know something they did in single quotes later. That day, as tension grew in the control center, a critical targeting system began to fail. Coordinates were glitching, data wasn't aligning, and every second counted. Tech teams scrambled, typing commands, rebooting systems, making calls, but nothing worked. A live mission was underway, and if the system didn't stabilize, lives could be lost. In the corner, Anya stood still, watching the screens with quiet intensity. She didn't move forward, didn't interrupt, but she saw the mistake immediately, a looped input pattern, disrupting the satellite feed, something she had studied late at night on an outdated training simulator. She waited, giving space for the experts to solve it. But the longer they failed, the more her heart pounded. Finally, she stepped forward, hesitating only once before speaking. "I think I know what's causing it." A lieutenant frowned. "Let the engineers handle it." But the commander raised a hand. "Explain." Anya walked to the main console, her fingers steady as she pointed to a line of code. "There's a corrupted data echo. If you bypass the receiver and rechannel the feed through the auxiliary line, the system will stabilize. I've seen this in test simulations." The engineers looked skeptical, but the clock was ticking. With a nod from the commander, they followed her instructions, and within seconds, the system blinked back to life. Clean, aligned, functional, a collective breath filled the room. No one cheered, no one clapped, but heads turned, eyes met, and for the first time, Anya wasn't invisible. She wasn't the girl with the coffee. She was the girl who saved the mission. Not with rank, not with a title, just with knowledge, and courage to speak when no one expected her to. The next morning, during a high-level mission briefing, officers and pilots gathered in the command room. Anya stood near the back again, holding a clipboard and silently observing. No one had officially said anything about the day before, but something had changed. People moved aside slightly when she walked past. Some nodded at her. Small, subtle signs. As the lead pilot entered the room and took his seat, his eyes briefly scanned the crowd, then stopped. He leaned toward another officer and whispered, "Who's that?" The officer glanced back casually. "Oh, her. Just a trainee, brings the reports." Quiet type, but the pilot wasn't convinced. His eyes locked on Anya's sleeve. "That patch," he said, narrowing his gaze. "That's not standard issue." The patch was a faded emblem from a decommissioned radar division, long dissolved, known only to those who had served with them. It wasn't meant to be worn anymore, but Anya wore it anyway. It had belonged to her late mother, a specialist who once held the highest signal decoding clearance in the military, but whose work had been buried in silence after an internal mishap during a classified mission. Most people in that room had never known her, but the pilot had. He stood abruptly, interrupting the briefing. "Excuse me, miss," he called across the room. Anya froze. Everyone turned. "Where did you get that patch?" She hesitated, then quietly replied, "It was my mother's. She served in Unit 47 Echo." A heavy silence followed. Then the pilot slowly walked toward her, eyes filled with recognition and something deeper respect. "Your mother saved my life once," he said. "Looks like her daughter just did the same." The room was still. This time, Anya wasn't just seen. She was remembered for who she came from and who she was becoming. The briefing ended in silence, but something in the air had changed. As Anya stepped out of the room, people who had once brushed past her now looked at her differently, not with pity, not with curiosity, but with acknowledgement. Word spread quickly, not just about the patch or her mother, but about Anya's calm intervention during the radar failure. Her quiet expertise had prevented a critical error. The next morning, instead of standing at the back of the room, Anya was called to the front. A senior officer handed her a reassignment, order temporary lead analyst for the next joint exercise. It wasn't just a promotion, it was trust. And it wasn't handed out because of legacy or sentiment, it was earned. As she took her new position at the console, Anya didn't smile or celebrate. She simply did what she had always done, focused, precise, silent. But now, people leaned in when she spoke. They waited for her signal reports. They took notes. In the following days, she helped refine the radar coordination systems, integrating her late mother's forgotten techniques, making them better, stronger, safer. No one asked her to fetch coffee again. No one mistook her silence for weakness. One evening, after a long shift, she walked alone to the rooftop of the base. The same place she used to sit as a child, staring at the stars beside her mother's old radio. The sky looked familiar, but Anya was not the same girl anymore. She wasn't just a quiet shadow in a loud room. She was proof that strength doesn't always raise its voice. Some heroes lead from the edge of the crowd until the moment comes when the whole world finally turns to face them. Aanya had never wanted recognition, but now she had earned something greater, respect. If Anya's silent strength moved you, like, comment, and share this story to inspire others. Subscribe to Hidden Brave for more untold stories of real-life heroes who deserve to be seen.